evening mga kaibigan. Of course, welcome to In My Toolbox, a weekly talk show for your personal finance only here at PHLV Radio. The goal of this show mga kaibigan is to give you financial information that you may be able to use on your day-to-day financial decisions. Of course, we will unbox topics that hopefully will be able to aid you and guide you and maybe even add to your financial tools. Mga kaibigan, we will tackle important information here, mostly not taught in school. But of course, this is so much needed to empower you financially. As usual, in any idea that will transpire in this show, always consult with your financial advisors, insurance professionals, tax consultants. Again, my name is Enrico. I'm a sales, marketing, an entrepreneur, and of course, a financial professional as well. If you would want to get in touch with me, on the chat box below, just message me. We'll get in touch with you. But if you're going to listen to this show on a later time, you can always email me at enrico.inmytoolbox@gmail.com. Ayan naman mga kaibigan. I hope everybody had a great week or is having a great week. It's another episode of In My Toolbox. Of course, tonight, we will be tackling something about Social Security. So, ang title natin ngayon is going to be Facts About Social Security. So, let me ask you, do you guys know what Social Security is? Ayan, ha? Diyan ang ating, we're going to be starting there. So, basically, Social Security, mga kaibigan, is one of those financial cornerstones of retirement for many Americans. That's going to be including you and me now, right? Indeed, for some, Social Security, it actually represents the bulk or even the entirety of their savings. Okay? Now, some Social Security, well, of course, there's no doubt it will serve a very important purpose for you and me. And it doesn't, come too close to solving the whole retirement savings because, Social Security has its also shortfalls, So, there are some ugly truths about Social Security that many Americans either don't, number one, they don't really fully understand how it works, or some actually just choose to simply don't want to know about it. But, the best way to prepare you and me for a solid retirement, of course, is to have all the information that you will need to know that's, of course, appropriate for your saving plan. And that's one of those things that I would want to talk to you guys about. Facts about Social Security. Well, again, Social Security provides a foundation. This is a foundation of income on which, when you're working, of course, as a worker, you can actually build a plan for your future, meaning your retirement. And of course, it also provides us a valuable social insurance protection because we work for it, guys. So when the time that, when a person becomes disabled or to those families that the breadwinner actually passed on or died. So I would want to give you some items that will actually talk about some facts that we, maybe will be able to aid us understanding Social Security. Let me just give you one, okay? Social Security, in fact, is more than just a retirement program. So, because when people think about Social Security, automatic, we think about, okay, that's going to be my retirement plan. While it's, it's partly true, but it's actually more than a retirement plan. It also can provide you, life insurance, and it can also provide you disability insurance protection. And there's just about 66 million people, or over 60 million people, or maybe about 1 in every 5 U.S. residents collected Social Security benefits just around February 2023. While other older adults make up about 4 in 5 beneficiaries, and the other 1/5 of the beneficiaries receive Social Security disability insurance. You remember, guys, when you hear about, this acronym SSDI, that it means Social Security Disability Insurance, or these were the young survivors of deceased let's just say workers, okay? So in addition to Social Security retirement benefits, you and me as workers earn life insurance and SSDI protection by making Social Security payroll tax contribution. We know that. So if you're an employee, if you're a worker, you know that a part of that salary goes to your Social Security. And about 97% of people aged 20 to 49 who worked actually in their job covered Social Security in 2022 earned life insurance protection through Social Security. Again, that's something that you need to know, that you have a life insurance protection through Social Security. You know, that's something that you would want to take note of that right now and ask Social Security about this life insurance program, right? So, for a young worker, mas bata, with average earnings, and then a spouse and 2 children, that's equivalent to a life insurance policy with a value of nearly 800 or over, less than about $900,000. This is actually based in 2021, and this is according to Social Security's actuaries, And then about 90% of people that's aged 21 to 64 who worked, in covered employment in 2022 were in fact insured through Social Security in case of severe disability. Well, the risk of disability ng mga kaibigan or premature death is actually greater than many people realize. Some 8% of recent entrants to the labor force will die before reaching the full retirement age. That's actually a scary number or statistics, but mind you guys, that's actually a statistics that's very, very reliable. That some 8% of recent entrants to the labor force will actually die just before reaching the full retirement age, and many more will become disabled. That's the reason why, guys, you have to really plan your retirement accordingly. Not just because you're feeling so good today, you're very healthy today, and statistics says something might change when the time comes. Okay? So, number 2, the other thing that you need to know with Social Security, it also provides a guaranteed progressive benefit that keeps up to, the increase of cost of living. Siyempre, cost of living, meron tayong tinatawag na inflation, there is actually a progressive benefit that will keep up with those increases. So, Social Security benefits are based on the earnings on which people pay Social Security payroll taxes. We know that. The higher the earning, well, up to a maximum taxable amount of $160,000 this year, this is 2023, of course, the higher their benefit. So, Social Security benefits are progressive. They represent a higher proportion of a worker's previous earning for workers at lower earning levels. For example, benefit for a lower earner with 45% of the average wage, which, they're going to retire at the age of 65 in 2023, will provide $14,824 a year. This is actually replacing about half of their prior earnings. But benefits for a high earner, if you're a high earner, mga kaibigan, with about 160% of the average wage, provides $32,235, replacing about 30% of prior earnings. This is actually through their, this is actually a larger in dollar terms than those for the low-wage workers. I hope you got those difference. So, kasi mga kaibigan, many employers actually shifted from offering the, remember one of those episodes that we have that concerns about traditional defined benefit pension plans. Because majority of employees right now, they don't have those defined benefits anymore. When you hear defined benefits, we're talking about those pension plans, which actually guarantees a certain benefit level upon retirement. Toward defined contribution plan, again, another thing that you have to learn about is the other one is the other side, which is defined contribution plan. These are your 401ks, diba? 401ks, and which actually which actually pays a benefit based on a worker's contribution and the rate of return they earn. So those are the difference between the defined benefit plan and the defined contribution plan. But then again, employers really veered away from those pension plan already. Okay, so Social Security, therefore, mga kaibigan, will be the most workers' only source of guaranteed retirement income that is actually not subject to investment risk or financial market fluctuations. So that's the difference. Okay, so that's the reason why a part of your retirement should be the Social Security. The other part may be your defined contribution right now, which are your 401k, and then you have your own personal savings. So once someone starts receiving Social Security, the benefits increase to keep pace with inflation. So for example, mga kaibigan, when you talk about inflation, so if there is a 6% inflation every year, your $1,000 today cannot buy the same $1,000 next year because the value of that $1,000 is less than 6%. So it's about $940 only. That's the value of your $1,000 after 1 year. That's what you call your inflation. So therefore, in Social Security, it has the capacity to keep pace with the inflation. And that's actually a good news, because this will actually help you ensure that people do not fall into poverty as they age. Your $1,000, 10 years ago is so much different than the $1,000 today. So that's the power of that keeping in pace to the inflation, and that Social Security has it. Okay, so in contrast naman, most private pensions, these are the old pensions that you have, guys, and annuities are not adjusted whatever is the inflation. Maybe some part are partly are adjusted, but majority, it doesn't have the capacity to outpace inflation. So I hope you got that part about Social Security. The other thing that you would want to know about Social Security, it provides a foundation of retirement protection for nearly all people in the United States. That's good news too, right? It provides a foundation of retirement protection for nearly everyone in the United States because almost all workers in the United States really participate in the Social Security. This is actually by making those payroll tax contributions. And almost all or every older adults will actually be receiving Social Security benefits. In fact, 97% of older adults, when I say older adults, mga kaibigan, this is about 60 years old to 89, either they're receiving Social Security or they will receive it according to the Social Security Administration estimates. Now, the near universality of Social Security, in short, the kabuuan of the Social Security, it actually brings a lot of important advantages. So it provides a foundation of retirement, and then retirement protection for people that that are earning in all levels. It also rewards personal savings and private pension because it's there's what you call a mean tested. That's what it means, right? So it just means that it does not reduce or deny benefits to people whose income or assets actually exceeds a certain level. So that's what it means. So Social Security, mga kaibigan, it also provides a higher annual payout than private retirement annuities per dollar contributed. So I know it's gonna be tough understanding that the contrast of the two, because it's risk pool. When you put everything in one pool, that's what you call risk pool. This is not limited to those to those people who are expecting to live longer. or for a long time. And then no funds leak out into lump sum payment. And it's, of course, there's always going to be administrative cost, and should be much lower. So the universal participation in the absence of means testings on the Social Security, mga kaibigan, is very efficient when they administer. So, well, the administrative cost, lagi naman, whenever we see here administrative costs, where there's fees again, right? But it only amounts to 0.5% of your annual benefit. This is actually very far below. Mas mababa ito, for private retirement annuities. So the means testing that Social Security is using would impose a very significant reporting and processing burdens on you, the recipient, and the administrator. So they're using this, because this actually can undercut many of those advantages while you're getting little savings. So finally, mga kaibigan, Social Security, in the nature of the whole Social Security, it actually ensures that it's continued popular and, of course, political support, that's actually how it is, that they ensure that part. And the larger majorities of the American, that includes you and me, that they oppose to Social Security, they oppose to the Social Security cuts because, of course, they value it for themselves, their families, and every one of us who rely to the Social Security. So mga kaibigan, just want to make sure that you would understand that Social Security really, it provides a foundation of retirement protection for all of us, okay? Or if not, majority of us. The other thing that I would want to give you an information on is that, the Social Security benefits, well, you can call it a modest benefit. Because many people don't really realize that at least we have this Social Security. And the average Social Security retirement benefit in 2023 was about $1,782 a month. I don't know if you already are aware of that, but that's the average since February 2023. $1,700 or $1,800 a month was the average. And this is about $21,000 a year. So, well, the average disabled worker and, those people that, the widows are, a little bit older already, of course, they will receive a little less than that. But that's the average of the numbers on your Social Security benefit. Now, for someone who actually worked all their adult life, in fact, today I was just talking to a nurse, and we were discussing about her employment, how long, and in her career, how long has she been a nurse, and she really worked 45 years as a nurse. So if you have worked all your adult life at average earnings, and then you retire at the age of 65, let's say, for example, in 2022, the Social Security benefits actually replace about 37% of past earnings. So meaning Social Security's replacement rate, it actually fell as the program's full retirement age gradually actually rose from 65 in 2000 to 67 years old in 2022. I think you guys know that already. So the retirement age is no longer 65 years old. The retirement age now is at 67. So most retirees, if you're a retiree right now, of course, that, you enrolled in Medicare supplementary medical insurance, which is, of course, this is the Medicare Part B. And for those Part B have premiums that are actually deducted from your Social Security checks. You might be surprised, why was it deducted? So that's just how the Part B really works. They automatically take it out of your Social Security check. This is because for your health, because of your healthcare cost actually continue to outpace general inflation. So those premiums that's been taken out of your Social Security check will take a bigger bite out of, it's actually a bigger bite when they take it out of your Social Security check. So Social Security benefits, mga kaibigan, that's the reason why are called modest. This is actually a level 2. You can say the modest terminology is actually based on the international standards. And the United States really ranks just, well, about the bottom third of developed countries in the percent of an average worker's earnings replaced by the public pension system. So that's something that you would want to know regarding Social Security. Of course, and another fact about Social Security, children have an important stake in Social Security. I hope you guys know that, So it means that, Social Security is actually important for children and their families, as well for those older adults. So over 6 million children. When you say children, these are all under the age under 18 years old, who lived in families who were actually receiving income from Social Security in 2021. That number included nearly 2.7 million children who received their benefits as dependents of retired, disabled, or deceased workers, as well as others who lived with parents or relatives who received Social Security benefits. So, mga kaibigan, Social Security in fact lifted 1.1 million children above the poverty line in 2021. You see, that's the powerful effect of Social Security that we may not be aware of, and this is actually a very good fact that we would want to know, that Social Security, guys, has a very important stake with children. Another fact that I would want to share to you about Social Security, Social Security, speaking about lifting, it actually lifts millions, not only children, but older adults above the poverty line. Come to think of it, when you say the average income was $1,700 or $1,800 a month, do you think, when a person starts receiving that Social Security, definitely most people or older adults are actually above the poverty line, if you want to see it that way. So without Social Security benefit, without Social Security benefits, about 4 out of 10 adults that's age 65 years old and older would have income below the poverty line. Can you imagine that? So without the Social Security, 40% of these adult people 65 and above are actually living below the poverty line. That's the power of Social Security, because it actually lifts millions of Americans to live above the poverty line. Well, Enrico, it's not enough. Well, that depends now. It's relative to maybe lifestyle needs, and it's actually debatable. But in general, as a Social Security fact, it actually lifts millions of older adults above poverty line. So, well, of course, again, saying that, all else is being equal, according to the estimate based on last year's current population survey, this is just the statistics that 40% of adults really lived below poverty line without the Social Security benefit. Wow. And then Social Security benefit lifted, this is the number, 15 million older adults above poverty line. And that's the number. And well, if I see that number, definitely it dramatically cuts poverty in the United States. So that's a very important study by the by the U.S. Census Bureau, and that's actually a good thing regarding Social Security, and that's how we should see it. That's how powerful Social Security benefits are. Social Security, again, guys, is the biggest source of retirement income for most retirees. So if you are retired right now, you might want to look at it on that perspective, that most of retirees, this is their biggest source of retirement income. In fact, the largest source of income for most beneficiaries are also Social Security. Again, this is the statistics. 40% in 2015, retirees in 2015, it provided at least 50% of their income, and that's actually 1 in 7. Provided at least 90% of income. This is according to the SSA research that combines survey and administrative data. So most retirees, mga kaibigan, if that's the case, if that's the amount, well, they're living on a modest income on top of their, what other income spectrum that they have. So most low-income Americans have very little pension income. So if any, if they have, according to the U.S. Census Bureau study, amongst this retiree households in the bottom third of the income distribution, most receive no pension income. So about 1 in 4, which is 25% of these households, they actually lived less than $20,000 in 2015. So when you say, mga kaibigan, if you're living off $20,000 a year, you could imagine what kind of lifestyle you can live off with that income. And about half lived on $50,000 or less. And this is the SSA study. Another facts on Social Security is very particular. Okay, take note of this one, guys. All right, Social Security is particularly important for people of color. Again, because Social Security is particularly important source of income for groups with low earnings and less opportunity to save and earn pensions, including, blacks, Latinos, for these workers, and of course their families. Now, who face higher poverty rates during their working lives in an old age. So the poverty rate among the blacks and Latinos, older adults, is roughly 2 times as high for those older white adults. So Social Security is very particularly important for people of color. And black and Latino workers are less likely to be offered workplace retirement plans, and they're likelier to work in low-paid jobs with little margins of savings. So Social Security helps reduce the economic disparities between older white adults and older adults of color. And this is actually a good thing. So again, mga kaibigan, those are the some facts of Social Security that you would want to understand more or research on, that will be able to aid you understand more the totality of Social Security. Especially Social Security is especially another thing is it's actually beneficial for women. That's something that is very, very good as well, because they tend to earn less than men. So Social Security looks at it that women, earn less than men, so they take more time out of the paid workforce. So they live longer, accumulate less savings, and they receive smaller pensions. So women represents more than half of the Social Security beneficiaries. Especially those people who are in their 60s, about 70% beneficiaries, are, of course, the beneficiaries of Social Security. In addition, women make up 95% of Social Security survivor beneficiaries. That's a huge number. So again, women benefits from the program, especially on inflation-protected benefits. I think I agree with this one, because women tend to live longer than men. So it's a progressive formula for computing benefits. So there's just an advantage there already. So again, aside from living longer, they already live longer, but they actually earn lesser. So, and the benefits for spouses and survivors, that's the reason why Social Security is, is very special, especially beneficial for women. Lastly, mga kaibigan, with Social Security facts that you would want to know, Social Security relatively modest changes would place Social Security on sound financial footing. So we already said that it actually lifts the poverty, the level of people who are in receiving Social Security benefits, right? So since the 1980s, Social Security has collected more in taxes and other income each year than it actually paid out the benefits. Because of this, it actually amassed, on combined trust funds. Well, trust funds for Social Security, guess what? It's about $2.8 trillion. And then, in addition to that, the combination, the excess income that was gathered from that Social Security that was collected, they were invested, of course, in interest-bearing treasury securities. So it's a combination of trust funds and these treasury securities. Now, Social Security's costs, of course, will grow in the coming years, especially now baby boomers are starting to retire and getting all of these Social Security benefits. So the trustees estimated that, that number, if policymakers took no further action, the Social Security Combined Old Age and Survivor Insurance, or you call it the OASI, and of course the Disability Insurance Trust Funds, everything would be exhausted by 2034. Wow. Do you guys know that? So if the policymakers will not do anything starting yesterday, right? All of this money will be exhausted by 2034. So after the trust fund reserves are depleted, even if policymakers took no further action, look at this, guys. Social Security could still pay 3/4 of scheduled benefits, relying on Social Security taxes as they are collected. Because, we can still pay a little because we still collect Social Security taxes, but of course, it could only pay 3/4 of what are the scheduled benefits. So again, we have this what people that we call them alarmists, who claim that Social Security won't be around when today's young workers retire. They either misunderstand or misrepresent the projection. Well, these are just numbers. Something can happen any time, and it can be better than what we're hearing. But then again, those people who says it maybe something that they don't understand really, or it's being misrepresented. Guys, the long-term gap between Social Security's projected income and the promised benefit is estimated at 1.3% of the GDP over the next 75 years. Yun naman yun. So policymakers should address Social Security's long-term shortfall, primarily because, mga kaibigan, may increasing Social Security taxes revenues is going to happen anyway. So Social Security will require an increasing share of our nation's resources in the coming decades. As you and I, we age, the younger generations, they age. And of course, the statistics will always show a broad willingness to support it through higher tax contributions. There would be, in one of these days, this tax contribution will definitely be able to fund it. So Social Security taxes, actually has, this is the thing, it has eroded since, the last decade, maybe, because these policymakers, they were trying to address the solvency of Social Security since the 80s, because of the largely increasing inequality and the rising cost of the non-tax fringe benefits, such as what? Your health insurance. Again, mga kaibigan, Social Security is a very broad, discussion. And the The policy basics are just there that I mentioned, and there's maybe about 9 or 10 of those that I mentioned to you. And this can be a very good items that you would want to take note, and you would want to talk to Social Security experts that can give you light about all of these facts that I actually just have shared to you. So I hope, mga kaibigan, you were able to learn something about Social Security. We already know that Social Security is the foundation of income for you and me, those people who are working, and this is going to be for this thing you build your retirement upon it. But then again, there are other things that you need to know about Social Security, and every day that passes and you're closer getting to that age on wanting to know more about Social Security, because it's going to be affecting the rest of your life. I really suggest that you dial a number, call a friend, right, and get somebody, an expert about Social Security, and give you light more about those facts. Again, mga kaibigan, this is again Enrico Pobre. You have just listened to In My Toolbox, another episode of In My Toolbox. Now signing off. See you next week.